Hello everyone, I'm Siddhi Patel. During this AAC Awareness Month, I wanted to share my experiences of using an AAC device. I was a part of the Jellow research project. Jellow Communicator is a freely downloadable AAC app which has been developed by IDC School of Design, IIT Bombay. My role was to teach these children with autism to use Jellow app to communicate. So once you open the Jellow app, you're going to see a main screen which has general categories such as greeting, eating, daily activity, places. Then once you click on a specific general category, there are further subcategories which you can see. So for example, if you open eating, there are further subcategories such as breakfast, dinner, lunch. And when you click on a particular subcategory, the final items are being listed on the screen. Also on the side, there are a few expression icons such as like, no, yes, more, less, dislike. So when you have to, for formulating sentences, you will have to combine the icon, the item which you have selected, and then click on the expression icon. So for example, if you click on go on to places and then go to school, and then click on the expression yes, so it will make the sentence I want to go to school. Or if you're going to click on school and then going to click on like, I like going to school. So this is how the sentences are formulated. To teach the Jellow, so once you open the Jellow app, we had broken it down into various steps. So your initial steps involved using the Jellow card. So the first step involved that you place a single card in front of the child and the child had to hand it over to you to request for the item or express himself. Then the complexity was increased by placing 3 cards and the child had to pick up a preferred card and hand it over to you. This third step, we directly went to the app. I navigated through the levels and the child had to click on the particular item which he wanted. This fourth step included formulating sentences. So the child had to click on the icon as well as use the expressions. And finally, the child had to use the app, navigate through the icons, click on the item which he wanted, and use the expressions. I used Jellow nearly for 6 months, and there are a few things which I think are quite crucial when you use an AAC device. The first thing is that you need to know your AAC device well, because once you understand it, you are going to be able to create more opportunities for your child to communicate through it. It is not only your child who's going to communicate or express himself through the AAC, but it is also you who's going to use this AAC to communicate with the child. You have to model the responses which are expected out of the child because he's going to start learning to use AAC by observing you. So it is really important that you are comfortable using it. Second thing is the vocabulary which we are going to use. I had started using vocabulary which were reinforcing items or events related, reinforcing items or events for the child. It was really helpful because the child understood the task quite well, but you do not want to stick only to it. So for example, if the child clicks on places and then goes on to the word park, you are not going to be able to give more opportunities for this trial. So these words become your fringe vocabulary. You need to include more of your core vocabulary such as yes, no, more, like, dislike, because this is going to help the child fulfill its communicative need. And also if the child is able to control the communication, he's going to feel motivated to use it again. Third thing is that you need to model the responses. It's unfair that you ask the child to communicate to you using the AAC and you simply talk to him. So you really have to model the responses when you're speaking with the child. It can be as simple as when you're making a sentence like, I want to go to the park. And when you're saying the sentence, you can open the app and click onto the word park, or you can show him, I want to go to the park. So this is something we can use. So try using AAC device in your everyday as much as you can. I used to ask parents to stick pictures in the house wherein if the child wants water, he can go near the refrigerator. You can point to the card, or even you can model the response that, oh, you want water, okay, let's give you water. So that is one thing. You should not only model responses for requesting items, but try including other things wherein I am sorry, I was hurt, wherein the child is able to express himself more, because communication is not only restricted for requesting items. Try to keep the AC device as accessible to the child. It can be in any form, it can be in picture forms or an app, but try keeping it as accessible as you can. When you are using EAC with the child, you don't have to train the child, but rather you have to teach the child to use it to communicate. So if the child, I take a reinforcement item, say some specific toy for a child, and I keep it in the hand and say, oh, you want it, give me the card. The child is going to give me the card because he wants the item, but he's really not learned communication over there. So rather you try creating situations where he would want to request for that item. So for example, if that reinforcement toy is somewhere kept which is visible to the child, and he tries to reach out for it, so you can say, and it's out of his reach, so you can say that, oh, you want this, and then you can prompt him to use these AC devices. Also, you can use it in terms of making it an activity wherein you, mom, and they are playing. So for example, if you take an activity of playing with the skittles, and I can say, mom, can you give me the ball, and I hand over the card or point to the picture to her, she gives me the ball and I play with it. Because then similarly the same thing the mother does. So in this case, you're not only modeling the responses, but you're also involving turn taking and other skills as well. So try creating situations which are going to elicit the response, and it has to be more in a communicative fashion. AC, when you're going to use AC with a child, it's not going to be useful if it is only used during a speech therapy session. So try involving parents and school teachers who interact with the child. What they are not familiar with the AAC term. So it is your job that you talk to them, you help them, you give them ideas about how they can use AAC when they are interacting with the child. When we use an AAC with the child, we think it's simply pointing to the card or looking at an icon. We think that that's so easy. But if you think from a child's perspective, there is so much to do, and you have to be patient. So I had this one child who was, when we had kept three cards in front of him, he did not elicit any responses. So, but when we went back and when we looked at the videos, we actually saw that he is looking at the preferred item. He's looking at the preferred card almost most of the times whenever that responses was tried to be elicited. So these tasks are difficult for the child, and you have to, when you're trying to elicit the responses, try and see what the child is trying to respond, because if you are going to prompt them too soon, you are going to miss onto that. So that's quite important, that you have to be patient with them. And as with other as with our language therapy, how much amount of stimulation we do with the child, it is equally important that you do that using an AAC as well. Do not miss out on any opportunity to interact with them using an AAC. I want to conclude this by saying that you need to start using an AAC. Start as early as you can. It seems daunting, but you can start simple. You can start with 2 to 3 items. Once you start using it, you will familiarize yourself, and you will be able to broaden your own prospects. And it is important to use AAC because we have to help them to express themselves.